I'm just honored to be able to go in with a guy like Isaac Curtis, a guy who was, like you said, a trendsetter, who molded the game of football and did things in Bengal history that is folklore at this point. So to be a part of this class right here, to me, is a blessing. I give thanks and honor to God, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And I thank the fans. I thank the season ticket holders for just remembering guys like myself and Isaac. I said last year on Twitter that I wish the older guys in the era before me would get a chance to go in. And I think we did that last year and did it with Isaac. And hopefully a lot more of those guys get a chance, because those guys set the standard for a player like me in Bengals history. Those guys that came before myself, that played for the Bengals, and thousands, hundreds of thousands of Bengals fans cheered for them. They grew up with them, and they knew and supported those guys before there was a Willie Anderson. So definitely hoping those guys can get a chance to go in. I have so many teammates to thank. It's too many to name, but guys that impacted my life as guys who played beside me. Guys like Bobby Williams, Ken Blackman, Brock Gutierrez, Mike Goff, Richie Graham, Levi Jones. So many guys. A guy like Joe Walters, who my rookie year took me under his arms, under his wings, knowing that the Bengals had drafted me to probably take his position, but he never showed me any animosity, not one single time. And I try to give Joe Walters as much love and praise and respect as I can, because he did so much for my career, along with him and Paul Alexander, who I was fortunate enough to have the same offensive line coach for 12 years. And we both grew together. We grew in techniques. We grew in things we came up together with that the Bengals have been using for years while Paul was there, long after I was gone. So guys like that, want to thank guys like Marvin Lewis for coming in and giving us hope, giving us a reason to believe. I think the Brown family, people talk about, I don't want to get into this too much, but people talk about the Bengals in different ways they perceive the Bengals to be. But that's not true. The Bengals took care of me in my entire career. I'm so happy to be a part of it. I stuck with them. And I'm so in love with this organization, the things you guys are doing for us past guys. And I give a shout out to all our fans across the world. Like, if they're not, I can't think of a more passionate fan base who stayed with us through thick and thin, throughout all the bad times, and now being rewarded, and got rewarded later in my career. But I just want to say thank you to everybody who voted for me, all our fans who get a chance to come watch us and support it for us. We heard those cheers. We played this game. We heard those cheers, and we knew how bad you guys want us to win. And we basically was playing for you guys to get victories and to feel good on Sunday afternoons. So I thank you. I guess I'm just happy this happened for me right now.
Hey, Willie, congratulations. Super proud of you, man. Wanted to ask you how it feels to go in knowing that a guy like Anthony Munoz paved the way on the field, and now he paved the way in the Hall of Fame, and you're following him once again. Has to feel good to be associated with him.
No doubt. When you play offensive line for the Bengals, early on, the standard was set by guys like Anthony Munoz. It was set by guys like Max Montoya and those guys. Even before those guys, but Anthony definitely came on and set a standard throughout league-wide. So if you're a lineman, specifically a tackle for the Bengals, the legacy that Anthony set for you, and it's a hard one to follow, but people are expecting a high level of play when you play for the Bengals at tackle because of Anthony Munoz.
Thank you.
Willie, congratulations. What legacy do you think you set for the offensive linemen of today?
Just like I say, and following Anthony's footsteps it's a hard path to follow. You know what I mean? And I love to think that I brought a lot of attention towards the right tackle position. I played left tackle my rookie year, but I was moved back. I had a good rookie year too, but I was moved back to the right side because back then we had bigger guys that rushed over the other side of guys were huge back then. You had grown men playing over that left defensive end spot, and we really didn't have any guys with the size and power to play that position. So they moved back over there, especially we got Corey Dillon. So I would love to say I think I set the standard for right tackles because, we were coming out of a decade where the left tackle position because of a guy like Anthony Munoz and Lawrence Taylor. Those guys that, people got so enamored with the blind side. But my whole point was, if my quarterback turns his head a certain way, anybody can be the blind side. And I think that narrative is kind of going away now in today's football because you got more and more rushers coming from everywhere. But during the time when I played, it was a running football league early on. And once we got into the 2000s, we got Carson Palmer. The league turned to a passing league. So being able to be a dominant run blocker, if you look at all my rookie cards, they say dominant run blocking. No one ever talks about pass blocking. But because that was the standard back then, to be a dominant run blocker in the mid-90s. But football changed, and I would like to say that I evolved with football and became a dominant pass protector as well.
Big Willie, congratulations, my man. That's a well-deserved honor, to say the least. Do you think that, you should be in Canton, you should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? And do you think that being the best right tackle of your era and now being in the Ring of Honor, being inducted into the Ring of Honor, do you think that Canton is on the horizon for you?
Well, I would like to hope so. I would like, I've said before, when I made the semifinal list 2 years ago and the finals last year, I just never thought those people would evaluate my career just because there wasn't a lot of limelight to it. But once if you break down my career and you look at when Pro Football Focus and Pro Football Reference started ranking guys, late in my career, my numbers late in my career from 06 to 08 are some of the best numbers ever. I tend to think my 4th through 6th year, when I gave up no sacks and like 2 pressure, if they were evaluating and had analytics back then for linemen, I think it would be one of the all-time best, if not the best. Pro Football Focus ranked me the best pass blocker the last 20 years. So things like that, you would hope they would pay attention to, but you just never know. When guys get in rooms, and we hoping our boy Jeff Hobson do a great job of presenting, and you just never know what guys are gonna pick and choose. You just never know. I hope and pray. Likewise, I hope and pray for all our guys, like the 2 Kennys. I think a guy like Corey Dillon deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I think Chad Johnson, Ocho, deserve to be in the Hall of Fame as well, because guys were the best at their positions.
Willie, can you share with us how the Bengals and the team informed you that you were going to be inducted into the team's Ring of Honor?
Yes, Mike Brown called me about a month ago, and he said, Willie, this is Mike Brown. I was like, Mike Brown, the Bengals Mike Brown? And he was like, yes. I was like, oh. And he called me to inform me that I had made it. I was super joyous. I was hollering on the phone to him. And, true to Mike Brown, he kept going straight past, said what he wanted to say. He congratulated me. He's always told me things about myself. My first Pro Bowl, he wrote me a handwritten letter thanking me for my years of support and telling me back in 03, my first Pro Bowl, that I should have made the Pro Bowl years before. So having him call me and tell me that I've been inducted was like, coming full circle. And I enjoyed that very much, so.
Hey, Willie, congrats. I'll echo what everyone else has said. Really happy for you. I'm curious, is there a game or a moment from your career that stands out as your favorite?
I told Dan this yesterday. I could think about a bunch of individual games, but unfortunately, early on, a lot of my individual best games came in losses. But for the team, that 2005 game against the Detroit Lions, when we clinched the division, was my most memorable, because I just remember thinking about guys were handing out T-shirts, and Marvin was like, throw the damn T-shirts away, like put the shirts up. Like, he didn't want us to get complacent, but he didn't know, like, guys like myself and Richie Brown and Brad St. Louis and Brian Simmons, we had been on the team for a long time, and we waited. That was my 10th year, I think it was Richie's 12th year, I think, 11th or 12th year. We just waited a long time for that kind of team success. And for that to happen, and once my individual success started coming, fortunately the team was winning. And but that game, I remember, because it was 2 franchises that had kind of been in the hole for a minute. And for us to be up and beat Detroit, and we see all their fans going through things that we went through years earlier, just for the team support, was a great thing for myself. That 05 game in which we clinched the division against Detroit Lions.
Willie, as a former player, what was it like watching the team in the season last year?
Heart stopping. Every week, you holding your breath, and the ups and downs of, the one thing you can't do is follow the Bengals game on Twitter. Like your heart, you have a heart attack. You know what I mean? But just seeing those young guys perform and seeing the love that the Bengals fans showed those guys, and just being on a national platform of something positive happening for these guys. Obviously, with Joe Burrow being the catalyst of that, but there's so many guys around him play really good football, and just to see this young nucleus of guys having their turn to go way further than we ever did was a big honor to watch, and we enjoyed it. Like everyone else, we enjoyed it.
Willie, congrats. I'm sure your phone's been blowing up ever since the announcement became public. What's been your, the call, text, DM that kind of has meant the most to you since the news became public?
Just my teammates. We're in a group text. I started a group text with a bunch of Bengals in the 90s and the 2000s during COVID. We all kind of stayed in touch. So all my teammates just hit the group text messages, congratulate me. Andrew Whitworth messaged that he texted me and called me and said he'd be working that game for Amazon. You know what I mean? He's so happy. He's so happy to be working the game. So I told him, man, do your boy solid. So just hearing the teammates calling and texting and congratulating me, because there's so many guys that I can think of before me that deserve this honor. So for me to get it, I take that in high regard. I take it in very all seriousness, because there's so many guys, like I say, that can deserve this award, and I'm just so happy and thankful that I was season ticket holders, selected me for this award.
Willie, interesting that typically the glamour positions get all the glory and fame, but Bengal fans, the first position where two guys are in the ring of honor are offensive linemen. Are you appreciative of just how much they value what you guys do up front and recognizing you in this way?
Damn right I do, because I've said about over the years that unless your linemen are stars in your team, you're not gonna have a successful team. And ironically, the best Bengal teams they've had really good players, great players playing offensive line. So for the fans to recognize that and honor that, especially in today's game of social media and all the analytics that sometimes linemen could get overlooked, because if you're not a real football head, you don't really know how great of guys are playing, statistical. So there's not really any stats for myself for you to look at, except the stuff that Pro Football Focus and Pro Football Reference done, later in my career. So for our fans recognize that, they tell you they're educated fans on the subject of offensive line play, and they know when this team is real good, we run the football and protect our quarterback. And our defense gives us turnovers, but it starts with those big guys up front on every good team the Bengals ever had.
Willie, with that in mind, what about Lael Collins? What's your impressions of bringing somebody like that in, and why that's so important?
Because he brings in an attitude. And I had a chance to work with Lael out in Dallas in 2018 when I was with the Cowboys doing some consulting work. He just brings the attitude. He brings, I said we've had several guys wear that 71 jersey, just myself, and there've been some good players like an Andre Smith and guys like that. But I think Lyle brings a different level of athleticism, toughness. If you watched him out of college, he's probably ranked one of the top college linemen when he came out of college that year. But he played some guard and moved up the right tackle and been playing at a Pro Bowl level. Like you look at last year, he had shutdown numbers in the passing game. And traditionally, those Cowboy teams have ran the football with him at right tackle and running behind him the majority of the time. So he's going to bring a toughness and a mentality, I think, that'll serve the Bengals well this year.
Hi, everybody. I'm just jumping in here to say let's keep this only to a couple more minutes. We've got Isaac Curtis waiting to join. And so, Willie, we'll ask a couple more questions and let you go.
All right.
Willie, what made you so good, Willie? And congratulations, man.
Thanks, Seth. Like I say, I just think I was able to evolve as a blocker. I mean, coming out of the 80s and high school and 90s, it was all about running the football. The stars were your running backs in the NFL in the 80s and 90s, mid-90s when I came in the league. And it evolved into a passing game. So just being able to evolve to be able to be a dual threat guy. I can dominate the running game. I can be a shutdown pass protector. And those things I prided myself on. Even during the losing times, we throwing the ball 35, 40 times a game trying to come back. And you got to have self-pride. You got to have pride that no matter what's going on around you, your guy's not going to beat you. You know what I mean? And I live down here in Atlanta, myself at the Keo, and a bunch of pros are down here. So in my 20s, we'll be out. We go to, we frequent the nightclubs and everything that the guys did in their 20s. And I wanted to be able to hold my head up high when I seen all these defensive ends that were from different teams. They would live here in Atlanta, and they would just know, yeah, you guys won the game, but we threw the ball 35 times, 38, 40 times, and you didn't slip the quarterback. So it came down to a pride thing to me, and I think I was able to carry that on myself and guys like Richie Bram, who played there for a long time with myself. So once we got good, that attitude turned into Levi Jones. It turned to Eric Steinbach. It turned over to Andrew Whitworth. Those guys around us, and kind of picked up that level of self-pride and self-worth. No matter what the game is doing, individually, you have to dominate. And that was my mindset. And I teach my players that now at my academy. Like, no matter what's happening with your team, individually, you do your part by dominating and being the best you can be.
Willie, speaking of your academy, 15 kids earned college scholarships last year. How and why did that become your current passion?
Man, like I told you the other day, man, I used to pray to God when I was younger that Michael Jordan, Oprah Winfrey would come down to Mobile, Alabama, and just show us how to make it out. Like, you know what I mean? And that was my prayer all the time to God, man. I said, yo, if I would make it, I'm going to help kids do something. I didn't know what it was. And I didn't find out what it was until I retired, and my own son wanted to play football. And he told me he had a dream of playing college football. So I said, okay, you're way behind. I can't teach you anything about receiver. I'm on YouTube watching Ocho run routes and do training videos and watching T.O. I'm calling T.O. and Ocho. So my son was a receiver, so I got him trained, and I put him around a really group of good guys who loved him, guys who took time with him. And so when I got done, once he signed the scholarship to Georgia Tech, I wanted to make sure I start my Willie Anderson Lineman Academy to help kids out. You know what I mean? I do train pros, but my heart is in high school kids who started with nothing, came to us with nothing behind the recruiting and training for them. And like you say, we had 15 kids last year sign scholarships. And my goal is those kids finish college, and those are 15 families that don't have to worry about being in debt because they came to our academy, took it serious, and trained with us for a couple of years, and the kids got rewarded with college scholarships. So that's in my heart, Dan. I know the NFL media would pick up on it more if I train a gym full of pros, but I do train some pros, but my heart is in high school kids. And having a guy like Paris Johnson as a ninth grader come live at my house 3, 4, 5 years ago as a ninth grader. He lived with me for a week and a half. Now he's at Ohio State with a chance to have a big future for himself next season.
Willie, we can't thank you enough for spending the time with us today, and we'll let you go.